Hi, Claire here, and I'm going to show you a technique where you can wrap objects, and this can be used in sculptural jewellery, or if you have a stone or a shell you found and you'd like to use it as a pendant or earrings. So wrapping jewellery is a way of suspending it so that you can hang it on a chain or in earrings. So let's have a look at some of the different wires we can use. So we have a number of wires here. You generally use a finer wire for wrapping than you would for jump rings, and this wire here is copper wire, and we have some finer brass wire. It's still pretty thick, and that would be more challenging to use than a fine copper wire. We have some tinted copper wire here, which does look like silver, but that probably means that it has some zinc in it, or a little bit of aluminium or some other alloy that has removed the natural copper colour. So the natural copper colour, it being a pure element, is that beautiful rose goldy colour. That's the natural copper. This one has an alloy in it, and it's lovely and soft and easy to use. So there are different colours you can use, but it is not silver, even though it does look like silver. So let's have a look at the objects you can wrap. Now these are beads, okay, and they have a hole through them, and they are very symmetrical. So that means that on a central axis, they are exactly the same on both sides of that axis, almost as if that axis was a mirror. So there's not much for you to use to really hold your wire on. It could slip off. So they're not a great choice. You can utilise the hole in the middle maybe and do some spiral wraps, but you're not going to be able to get a lot of tension of the wire on a symmetrical bead. Now, this is a glass object that was made in class, and it has some nice smooth areas which make it practical to use to wear, because it's not going to stab you, but it's got a few little notches there, and that's what attracted me to this object, because there is something for me to grip onto with my wire. So I'm going to do this quickly, and I would normally take a lot more care when I do this. So I'm going to show you the basics of this. So you cut two pieces of wire, and I'm going to use this copper wire, and you put them at right angles. So they are perpendicular to each other, and each angle in here is 90 degrees. Then you need two pairs of pliers, both of them where they meet, and they're flat-nosed pliers. So you pick up the wire and you hold it between one pair of pliers, and you need to start off with them at right angles so that each wire wraps around each other. Now, if they're not at right angles, what you do is you get one piece of wire wrapping around the other piece, and that's not good, okay? It looks yucky, and it's starting off to doing it there. And once you've got that happening, it's very hard to unwrap it. Okay, so once you have that, that's your starting piece. You're going to use that as a major spine. So now we put the pendant, whatever you're wrapping, over the top of that spine, and you're going to split them around the object. So you wind it around the other side, and you cross them over, and you use your pliers to make sure, give it a twist. This is quite a fiddly process, but I find that it's not difficult, and students can pick this up quite easily and be very inventive. So it is a bit, fiddly, as you can see. So we do want to get quite a close fit with the wires, but if you don't be too panicked, because I know some other tricks which I can show you. So again, we're going to twist these, and we can just twist them by hand, being very careful that they twist over each other. It's not perfect, I know, sorry about that, but the process is what I'm showing you. Okay, and you get up to the top Now, it's not fitting wonderfully, as you can see, but don't worry, it's not all over yet. Then, now you have some at the front, a spine at the back and a spine at the front. And you're going to now twist them over each other on the sides. So I'll just quickly show you what you do. If I twist a little bit on each side, you will be able to get a little bit more secure. So I'm going to race ahead and do that. So keeping them far apart. Now this is going to bring it up to the top. So I know it's not fitting very well there. I'm sorry about that. But it can be rectified. You simply need to separate the base so that it fits better on the bottom, and you can twist these by doing some little pinches in them later, which means an S pinch. So you put these pliers in and you S pinch them, and it makes it very decorative. However, let's continue with the top section. You bring these up to the top again, and they meet in the middle. So when they meet in the middle, you bring them back to their original partner. So separate them out and you start twisting them again with their original partner. Now one side you're going to twist to the very end because that will form a loop for hanging. So again, I warn you that I'm doing this quite roughly. And that will form the top, and then the other part you're just going to make a bit of a join here and leave them loose. The reason why you like to have these loose is because you can thread a bead on them and suspend beads. You can form a loop and add a chain with a bead on it. You can make a spiral or a spring as decoration, because those things certainly add a lot to your work. Now, using a circular object, I can help that to create a loop for hanging. So I'm sort of forming a loop there for hanging, and while it's not secure, I'd certainly need to do some pinching here to create some tightness. And you can see I've created a wave-shaped pinch, and you try to be strategic with this so that it really holds the bead firmly and looks really decorative. So those pinches, I told you not to worry about it and you didn't believe me, did you? You can see that they really can create a firm fit. I'll just have to hold it flat rather than let it jump around like a kangaroo. Oops, see how that was a bad choice? I need to twist it that way and it makes it firmer. I really like these little twists. They help it really hold. That's actually extremely secure. Now, I can wind this around very firmly and create a twist at the top. These little pieces here can be actually woven in and trimmed, and I can create some springs. I might just trim them off at the moment because I don't want to fiddle for a million years. So I'm just going to trim those off. Hopefully they don't hit me in the eye or anyone else. Naturally, you'd be having safety glasses on. So those little ends, you definitely need to thread them in because they can catch on your clothing. Now, with these other pieces, you could imagine that a blue bead would look quite nice hanging on that, but you can do spirals, and you do spirals using these little tiny pliers here, right on the end. Create a tiny circle, a really tiny circle, and then gradually create a spiral. And I'll do it quite quickly again. You can make perfect spirals. And I have seen students do amazing spirals with this stuff. And students can be very clever with it. So you can see I've created a spiral at the front. And at the back, I might just try to create a spring here, which is like a helix. It's a bit long for my spring. I don't need a spring to go forever, but just so that you can see. Now, if you don't make a spiral, you can create a spring around your pliers. And the spring, you can position it and make it hang. You can hang something from the spring. I really quite like hanging little trinkets from these. But that's actually very firm and it holds that extremely well, and I've done it quite quickly. If I was a lot more careful, it would look better, but that's how you wrap.